Breaking news. It's easy to see why Putin might lend Trump another hand. The Russian-Ukrainian conflict has reached a stalemate, with neither side willing to make a decisive military move or initiate peace talks. So what could possibly alter expectations? The election for U.S. president in 2024 is one such thing. Analysts believe Russian President Vladimir Putin is playing for time in the hopes that Republican frontrunner and former President Donald Trump will be re-elected. In contrast to Trump's statements that he would cut or end U.S. military aid to Ukraine, Biden has pledged that his administration will stand with Ukraine, for as long as it takes. Former U.S. Ambassador to Russia under Obama, Michael McFaul, recently commented on Substack, "Obviously, Putin is waiting for the outcome of the U.S. 2024 presidential election. Putin has reason to believe that he could strike a much better deal on Ukraine if Mr. Trump is re-elected. Why then would he try to negotiate at this time? Even more so than in 2016, when he ordered Russian agents to use fake social media accounts and other tools to harm Hillary Clinton's campaign and aid Trump's, Putin has a vested interest in seeing Trump elected. Putin favored Trump over Clinton at the time because he believed that Trump's threats of trade wars and other unconventional policies could strain relations between the United States and some of its allies, ultimately benefiting Russian interests. Putin succeeded in achieving his goal. President Trump has been an outspoken critic of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, increasing tariffs on Canadian and European imports and criticizing many European nations for not spending enough on defense. In 2018, at a summit with Putin in Finland, Trump acted in a manner that was almost subservient. Next, Trump tried to overturn his 2020 election loss to Biden, which was followed by Trump-instigated riots on January 6, 2021, in the United States Capitol. Russia's superpower adversary has never appeared weaker. After last year's disastrous invasion of Ukraine, which resulted in the decimation of Russia's army and international sanctions that are stifling Russia's economy, the stakes are much higher now for Putin. Under Biden's leadership, the United States has been the undisputed global leader in providing military and economic support to Ukraine. Without American support, Ukraine might not fall apart entirely, but it would have a hard time pushing Russian forces out or even keeping its current borders. If Putin attempted to sway the 2016 U.S. election, what might he do in 2024 to ensure Trump or another Republican is elected president? One of Biden's biggest political weaknesses is the cost of gasoline, which could be part of the solution. In June of 2022, as gas prices neared a new peak of $5 per gallon, Biden's approval rating plummeted. Since then, gas prices have dropped to around $3.80 per gallon, but Vice President Biden's approval rating has remained stagnant at around 40%. An incumbent president needs at least 45%, and ideally 50%, approval rating to have a good chance of being re-elected. It would appear that Biden is in imminent danger. Putin may try to influence the 2024 U.S. election by using Russia's oil and natural gas exports as a weapon, as he has done throughout the war. After Saudi Arabia, Russia remains the world's second-largest oil exporter. As a result of Western sanctions, Russian oil exports have shifted away from Europe and toward China and India. However, oil is a globally traded commodity, so shifts in supply or demand in one region will have repercussions elsewhere. Whether Russia could withdraw enough oil from the market to increase U.S. gasoline prices and hurt Biden's re-election chances is an open question. It makes sense. For Russia to continue funding its costly war, oil revenue is essential. While Saudi Arabia has reduced its output by about 1 million barrels per day, it has already reduced output by about 300,000 barrels per day. As a result of these reductions, oil prices around the world have risen by about $10 per barrel so far this summer. If demand is strong and prices rise, as they have this year, some oil-producing nations can make more money by producing less oil. The Biden administration is secretly cooperating with multiple oil-producing nations, including some unfriendly ones, to bring more crude onto the global market, according to a report published by Clearview Energy Partners on August 6. Clearview analysts predicted that, between now and the November 2024 presidential election, President Joe Biden's energy policy would prioritize low gas prices. As the article states, fuel cost sensitivities also appear to coincide with outreach to Saudi Arabia, and a combination of rapprochement and realpolitik with three heavily sanctioned U.S. rivals, Iran, Venezuela, and Russia. After Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was living in the United States at the time and writing for The Washington Post, was murdered and dismembered in what appears to have been a state-ordered hit, Biden used the word pariah to describe Saudi Arabia as a candidate in 2019. However, Biden is currently assisting Saudi Arabia in pursuing national goals and normalizing relations with Israel. That might include a tacit understanding on the part of the kingdom to increase oil production if prices rise during Biden's re-election bid. It is possible that a Saudi-Israel deal with expanded U.S. security guarantees could have the effect of making Riyadh more receptive to White House concerns regarding market tightness, as Clearview put it. The Biden administration last year authorized increased shipping of oil from Venezuela to the United States, and this is now happening. Iran's oil output has reached its highest levels in at least 5 years, and more production is expected as tensions between the two countries have eased. The Biden administration has thus far stood firm against Russian demands for a reduction in the price cap on Russian oil imposed by the Group of 7 industrialized nations in December. The countries that provide the majority of the insurance and maritime services for oil tankers around the world voluntarily agreed not to do business with anyone shipping Russian oil at prices above $60 per barrel. However, the current average price paid for Russian oil is closer to $67 per barrel, largely due to Russia's efforts to sidestep the G7 sanctions on its oil exports. The Obama administration is unwilling to risk a decrease in global oil supply, even from Russia, so they aren't on board with deal critics who want the G7 to lower the price cap to $50 or less. The Energy Information Administration predicts that U.S. drillers will reach a new record high of 13 million barrels per day in production by 2024, which is a welcome addition to the global oil supply. However, the U.S. government does not regulate domestic energy production like it does in most OPEC countries. Businesses in the private sector do this, and they will only increase output if they anticipate a positive financial return on the investment required to do so. Oil releases from the National Strategic Reserve are one tool Biden has at his disposal to bring down energy prices. The reserve has dropped to its lowest level since 1983, but Biden has already released 180 barrels in 2022. If Biden's political career were on the line, he might drain the reserve, but doing so would invite criticism for using an emergency fund for electoral gain. It's safe to assume that both Putin and Biden are aware of each other's electoral weaknesses. There may be another fight going on behind the scenes while Biden gets ready to take on Trump or another Republican.